In our previous lecture, the primary emphasis towards the end was on the different brain representations of memory functions. So, what we were trying to do is, we were trying to look at specific brain areas, specific structures, certain functional configuration in the brain, and how different types of memories that we have talked about, how these things actually get represented in our neural mechanism. One could feel from that is as if it is the brain which regulates each and every aspect of our behavior, and the entire memory, the way we have talked about it in psychology, has extremely to do with the brain. So, it is a psychological process which completely depends on the brain. One can have this viewpoint, and especially the previous lecture, the fag end of it that you saw right now, it somewhere might hint at that. So, now what we would do is, we would try to look at certain specific functions. What we would do is that we will say that fine, look at these studies, okay, see what was actually done. These in the beginning we would take a series of studies, where the either using the PET technique or using MRI or using fMRI, different tasks were supposed to be performed by the participants. These records were being made, but then what actually they found, and is it that the brain represents the memory functions and it controls memory functions completely, or is it that the brain itself undergoes certain modification because one is performing certain specific type of task. Before that, we begin with something that we had discussed in the beginning when we were talking about perceptual processes. One of the themes that we talked about in perceptual processes, okay, has certain relevance with memory also. We did talk about spatial orientation, space perception. This was one of the content when we talked about perception. Now, when we talk with respect to certain memory that has to do with the memorization or remembering of the spatial location of a structure of say an area and stuffs like this, okay, what we call as topographical memory. Now, spatial orientation such as left, right, up, down, they are of extreme importance for us. We need to understand what is left, what is on right, okay, what is on the top, what is on the bottom, and later on when we visit the same place, okay, we do have some mental representation of when I visited this place, what were the things on the left, what were the things on the right, and this is how you make a mental map, a cognitive map of the area concerned. And while doing so, the geographical features such as mountains, such as shores, okay, they have been found to be used as local reference systems. During perception, we talked about this fact that people the sailors especially, they used to look at the color of the sea water, they used to look at the type of birds available in the sea, they used to look at certain mountains, okay, and these used to work as a reference point, and they could understand on the basis of these reference points where they are in the sea, and all these significantly affects our spatial orientation. Now, look at this video. We are right now in the heart of India, in a state called Madhya Pradesh, and it has a beautiful place nearby, what is called as Bhimbetka. Now, Bhimbetka is popular for its cave painting. Look at this video. what you saw here was that one has to move across the hills here. You find difficulty finding the way, but then for each location you can have a reference point where to turn left, where to turn right, which painting was carved where and so forth. Okay. And this is what is something that we repeatedly use in our life. Okay. This was more picturesque and it had a special flavor because it is of historic importance, of archaeological importance, therefore, we saw it here, but this is something that we also see in our day to day life. Now, look at this. Here what you find is trees on one side all around and then a trail to walk. On the other side you have the sea. But remember this very clip which is from Rio de Janeiro. When I was walking on this trail and I had to remember some key points, where did I take a left turn, where did I take a right turn, where is my vehicle parked and so forth. Okay. Basically, I was trying to search for some topographical feature that would act as cue. Now, look at my important cue. This is a special wave pattern which was formed because of the rock there. Okay. And this was too typical while I was walking on the trail, and this worked as a special reference point for me. Okay. And because of this I knew where I took a turn on which side, and then how from the starting point how I have reached where I have reached. Okay. Therefore, topographical memory plays a very, very important role. Now, look at this animation. There have been studies in psychological sciences which talks about sex difference in topographical memory, where the moment you leave the boys and the girls for way finding, when they have to find their own ways to reach an end point. Okay. There has been reports suggesting that it is mostly the boys who succeed doing that and girls face certain problem. And you can see the two different colors in the animation here, one representing the boy and the other representing the girl. Okay. And how one dot that you see here in the animation it gets stuck somewhere while finding the route. Now, we come across a very, very interesting study. This was basically somewhere to understand the brain structures, the memory function, especially the topographic memory. Okay. And this study has its importance because what I was saying in the beginning, that one might get an idea that it is basically your brain that commands you, okay, what you will memorize and what not. Okay. In this study, okay, you can get a feel that the way you use yourself, okay, can also somewhere help your brain evolve in a much better way, and certain functions can get more pronounced. Now, topographic memory was studied in the cab drivers, the taxi drivers of London. Okay. Now, you can see here one of the taxis and the complex route of London. The taxi drivers were asked to overtly describe the route between any 2 points in Greater London. They were also asked to recall some landmark buildings, okay, which are not in London and they have not visited. Now, the PET scan images were superimposed onto the MRI reconstruction, okay, of each subject's brain in this case. What was observed was that certain areas of the brain got activated during the spatial task, and those areas were occipito-temporal areas, the medial parietal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, parahippocampal gyrus and the right hippocampus. What was very interesting was that the right posterior hippocampus increased in size as a function of years spent as taxi driver. Okay. This means that the more and more years you have driven taxi on the routes of London, okay, the relatively larger size of your hippocampus will be. Okay. So, the right posterior hippocampus will gradually increase in volume, okay, simply because you have spent more number of years as cab drivers. This simply represents that fine, you have been using your brain in a very, very peculiar way, and because of this peculiarity of usage of the brain function, okay, you have the increase in the size of the right posterior hippocampus. Another interesting study this was basically based on the PET imaging study. Okay. And this study I had deliberately thought of sharing with you, because here the motor regions of the neocortex was mapped, okay, in 3 conditions. 1, when you observe, 2, when you remember, and 3, when you imagine. Okay. So, you are observing movement. So, what happens to your motor region of the neocortex? You are remembering movement. What happens to the motor region of your neocortex? And in the third condition, you are visualizing, you are imagining certain movement. Okay. So, what happens to your motor region of the neocortex? Now, brain regions active when subjects silently rehearsed various words. Okay. This was one of the things, and there was also an increase in the blood flow in the hand region of the motor cortex when subject name certain tools. Okay. So, what is very interesting here is, okay, that in one case you are observing certain movement. Okay. In the second case you are remembering certain movement, and in the third case you are imagining certain movement. Now, what happened while you are observing certain words and you are rehearsing it, okay, the brain regions became active even though the subject was silently rehearsing the words. In condition 2, okay, there was an increase in the blood flow in the hand region of the motor cortex. Okay. Now, remember, motor cortex should have ideally have increased blood flow when you are actually manipulating the tools using your hand, but then hand movement is not there. You are simply what you are doing is that you are naming a tool. So, you are trying to recollect the name of the tool, but the moment you recollect the name of the tool, okay, you are experiencing certain increase in the blood flow in the motor cortex region, okay, that has to do with hand movement. This means that simple recollection of the object itself or the tool itself somewhere activates the whole protocol of movement. Okay. And this finding suggests a connection between the hand region of the motor cortex and the knowledge about the tool and its usage. So, it is not only that you recollect a word, but you also recollect automatically what gets visualized is the usage of it. So, say for example, you see a pistol, okay, it is no more a pistol for say somebody in the armed forces or in the uniformed services, okay, but he has been using this weapon for quite long. So, the moment you utter the word or the moment you recollect this word, okay, suddenly you experience a blood flow in the hand motor movement region in the brain. Another interesting study, okay, again this was a PET study of brain activity evoked while performing a movement and the activity evoked by imagining a movement. So, there are 2 conditions now. Condition 1 where you perform a movement, condition 2 you are not performing the movement, but you are simply imagining it, you are visualizing it. And then the PET scans were taken while performing certain movements, okay, and it was compared with scans when subjects were silently describing the movements through themselves. Okay. And what was found was that the verbal encoding, okay, of the same movement takes place. Okay. Another interesting study which had 2 studies attached to it, where the functional heterogeneity in the orbital region of the brain was seen. In case 1, the subjects heard sounds of a violent car crash or the familiar abstract sound that was generated using an electronic keyboard. In study 2, the subjects were presented with novel abstract visual design that they had to commit to their memory or they just had to view. If you recollect when in the beginning when we were talking about testimony memory, we had seen these visuals. Okay. So, you see a crash, okay, and how you tend to add certain features to it. Now, before we go into the findings of this study, okay, let us look at this. A sound bite will appear before you. You have to share with me, or you just when you are listening to this lecture, okay, just imagine what comes to your mind when you hear this soundtrack. I am sure what would have come to your mind was the speed of the car, the type of the car, that it is taking a turn, it has one car has banged the other. Okay. So, this is what was being studied here, that in one case you have to visualize, okay, and in the other case where you see it, and then what actually happened here was that there was an increased activation in response to the unpleasant auditory stimuli in area 13 of the brain. Okay. And this very area has a widespread connection with the amygdala and hypothalamus. Now, the very fact that this area has a widespread connection with the amygdala and hypothalamus means that there would be certain degree of emotional arousal attached to it. Okay. What was also observed was that the medial temporal cortical connections was activated, that is area 11 of the brain, okay, for the new visual information. Okay. An interesting thing that comes out of this study is that if people have damage to area 13, remember here what we discussed was that there was an increased response to the unpleasant auditory stimuli in area 13, and what we are now saying is that if one has a damage to area 13, this simply means that the person will not respond the way other normal people will respond when one encounters threatening stimuli. What you saw here was that when you were hearing the audio track of a car chasing another car, of a violent car crash, what you observed was, okay, the moment you start hearing the soundtrack, you start also visualizing it. Okay. And this also had somewhere activated area 11 and 13 in the brain. Okay. And now, activation of area 13 somewhere also is important in terms of preparing you, somewhere saying that fine, there could be a threatening situation right now. So, if you have a damage to area 13 of the brain, this simply would mean that you could have a threatening stimuli in your environment, but then you do not show the readiness to respond to it. We come to another interesting study here. This was a fMRI based study, where the subjects generated mental images with their eyes closed, okay, from memory. Now, one of the examples given here is that of a tree. So, in this very study, the subjects generated mental images from memory, okay, and while doing so, they were supposed to keep their eyes closed. Okay. For example, you keep your eyes closed, okay, and then you generate the mental image when you hear certain words, say for example, tree. Now, what was observed was that the visualization of concrete words increased activation in the left posterior temporal occipital region corresponding to area 37, that is the fusiform gyrus. Let us come to another interesting domain where we have something that has to do with memory and something that also has to do with the emotion. A little later when we come to the next topic, when we were talking about the affective processes, there once again we will touch upon this in a very slighter way. What has been observed is that by 12 months of age, all human babies, they can recognize their reflections when they see themselves in the mirror. Okay. So, before that, if you put a small human baby before a mirror, the child will not be able to recognize himself or herself, but by 12 months of age we are capable of doing so. Okay. And gradually what has also been found is that they can identify the faces of their family members. Okay. Now, look at this animation. Okay. What you find here are that those specific zones of the face that are paid special attention in order to recognize who this individual is. When you come across cases of prosopagnosia, okay, what is observed is that the face that we were looking at right now, saying that fine, these are the point of attention for somebody. These faces appears as a collection of distinct features. So, whenever you look at somebody, you focus on certain points on the face, okay, and you try to extract the distinct feature, okay, which parses out individual X from individual Y. So, when you meet your friends. Say for example, you have 7 members in your family, you have say 70 students in your class, you have 30 children in your neighborhood, you have this size keeps on increasing. But what is interesting to understand is that we always look for some distinct features, and using these distinct features we do identify who this person is. And if you are told to narrate how x is different from y, one can very easily do that. Now, in prosopagnosia what happens is that the features of the face turns little blurred. Okay. So, it will the facial features blurs, and this very blurring of the facial feature makes the distinguishing process extremely difficult. So, because you are not able to look at the specific features on the face, and these features gets blurred for you, therefore, you are not capable of making a distinction between x and y, and therefore, recognizing human beings, differentiating between them becomes extremely difficult, and this in turn somewhere hampers your social participation. Let us now come to an important topic in memory, what is called as collective memory. Till now, our focus was exclusively on that part of memory that has to do with a specific individual. For the first time, we are turning our direction towards the set of people and the shared memory between them. But I must tell you that this is still a topic which has more and more of debate. So, we would be very cursorily we will be looking at it. Shared memories according to Wilson is something that we share among the members of a family, community, social group, religious group or the institutions. And these are the events actually which are considered to be of extreme significance. And whenever you try to recollect it, it will always have a socio-cultural historical context. And therefore, the social sharing of the memory is seen, or what you call as the collective approach to remembering the events. Take for example, if you take a group of people who shared certain context historically, say the event of earthquake for example. When you share this experience with your family members, you tell what happened when I saw the fan shaking, or when I could experience that my bed is moving, shaking. Your mother also shares what she felt, sister also shares what she felt, father also shares what he felt. Now, when you recollect the event, you are basically what you are doing is that you are recollecting the experience of the earthquake, but then you have inputs coming from different individuals, and all these individuals can place themselves in that specific socio-cultural historical context and recollect the experience. We have talked about the autobiographical memory, but autobiographical memory defines the individual self, whereas the collective memory part of the individual has to do with the community identity. So, I identify myself to my family, with my society, with my peer group, and this group to which I identify, we all have certain shared memory. This shared memory plays an important role because it adds to your cultural cohesion. Take for example, all those who participated very actively in a political movement for example, in a social movement for example. The moments of pride, the moments of suffering, escape from the law enforcement agencies, the type of things that you rejected in your life, opportunities that came your way, but then you were aspiring for a much bigger goal, and therefore, you compromised at that point in time. All those things will be shared by people, and simply because all of you have undergone the same experience, therefore, the cohesion between the members of that group or that culture will maximize. Interestingly, no, people know who would have that type of sharing of the content of their memory will also have a sense of a common fate. Okay. And then because you know have a maximization of the social cohesion, you also anticipate of common fate. Therefore, you also experience heightened degree of emotional bonding with the other members. Okay. But as I told you that as of now there is no consensus know about collective memory. Look at this animation now. You can realize that you have an individual here, and then that individual actually is a part of a larger group. There is an interaction between the individual and the group, okay. And then you also have the socio cultural context, the historical context, no? And therefore, you cannot know think of an individual, you cannot segregate out the individual completely from the group, and this group know whenever it will start recollecting experiences, okay, you cannot know segregate these experiences, these recollections from the socio cultural historical context. We would now be talking about the application of our knowledge about memory. Okay. And here of course, I will be just talking about a couple of issues only. We all know the fact that with the increase in age, we also experience cognitive aging. So, there are certain age related decline in our cognitive functions, okay. Especially 3 domains where you experience decline in the cognitive functions are visual attention, the working memory and the executive function. Okay. So, your capability to focus on something in an extraordinary way for a prolonged period of time, you realize that gradually with the increase in age, this capacity starts declining. Second, the content that you could retrieve as part of your working memory, that also starts diminishing. And third, you realize that there is a decline in the executive function. So, whenever you think in terms of an individual, okay, we are right now with individual, I mean to say that we are talking of individuals who are graying, okay, who have or those who have turned old. Now, you realize that when you put the gadgets in front of those individuals, or when out of certain policy enforcement because of certain upgradation in the technology, when you want these people to actually use a particular type of system that you have designed, okay, you realize that higher degree of visual attention, memory function, okay, especially the working memory and the planning functions, all these 3 things are needed. Okay. And cognitive aging, what it does is that all these capacity gradually starts shrinking. Okay. Now, if you look at the system usability of an older adults, okay, you find that there is a compatibility of perceptual and physical characteristics. Now, the physical characteristics of whatever you have designed, okay, and the perceptual capability of the individual, okay, both should be compatible. The higher is the degree of compatibility between the two, okay, higher is the match between the required outcome and the actual outcome that the individual comes forward with. Take for example, when you have to navigate a complex hierarchical menu structure, say you are told that you have to do something online. Okay. You can check the status of your pension online, you can transact online, you can book your tickets online. There are several functions now where whole range of system has been designed, okay. But then the physical capability and the perceptual capability, you realize that unless you find that there is a greater degree of coherence between the two, one finds it difficult. I am just showing you one of the nationalized banks of India here, okay, their online portal. So, you basically have to go to this point, and you realize that it is full of information. What has been realized is that the more you grow older in life, okay, you have difficulty finding out and tracing out the information of your need. Now, let us take the example of withdrawal mechanism from an ATM machine. You see two types of ATM machines here, okay, and you right now just look at their keyboards. No? In one case you realize that it is of a uniform color, in the other case you realize that on the right panel it has yellow, red and green color buttons also. But what is very interesting is that in one case okay, you also have the buttons on the left and the right side just next to the monitor. Okay. And there are ATM machines where you are there is no keyboard at the bottom, rather you are supposed to press the keyboard which is just next to the screen. Okay. Now, the moment you insert your card, okay, you have the screen which tells you certain things, and remember one thing that you need time to read what is written here. No? As younger people, you read faster, you remember what you had read right now, okay, when you move to the other part of it. As an older individual, you take time to read, and remember all these functions are time specific. Okay. Many a times there are options given in ATM machines that do you need more time, okay. And if you do not operate the machine, if you do not press any function within a specific limit of time, then it is gone, the transaction is cancelled. Now, you see you keep on pressing the buttons, and different types of requirements come. Okay. So, if you read slow, or if you have difficulty retaining what you have read, okay, your transaction time will increase, okay, and this transaction time will somehow make it difficult for you to interact with the machine, to interact with the technology. So, although technology has been made to facilitate certain functions, you realize that it is putting you in trouble. Okay. And a very recent study by Grame and his associates suggests that there is longer search time for older adults when they look at certain targets in the web page which has more information, okay, compared to those web pages which has less information. Okay. So, the moment you have more information, like the previous case where you saw the online portal of one of the nationalized banks, okay, I have to find out where is the option for what I want. Okay. Now, the capability to mentally maintain information over time is of course very critical for the effective usage of these IT equipments, and working memory plays a very crucial role here. Okay. And because we have seen right now that there is a decline in the working memory function when one grows older. Okay. Therefore, the capability of the individually to mentally maintain information for little prolonged period of time, that diminishes, and therefore, one will always find difficulty handling those technology. So, if one thinks in terms of improving the technology, one has to very specifically look at the age of the user, okay, the cognitive difficulties faced by the individual, what we are referring to here as cognitive aging, and then appropriately modify the machines. Now, look at this video.
आप कितना कहाँ पे काम करते हो?
ये मजदूरी करते हैं।
हाँ, कितना पढ़े हो?
अरे 2-3 दर्जा तक पढ़े हैं।
आपको हिंदी पढ़ना आता है क्या?
नहीं, हिंदी पढ़ना में कुछ नहीं आता, मैं उठा छाप हूँ।
हाँ, तो रेल से जब सफ़र करते हो आप, तो आपको कैसे पता चलता है कि ये ट्रेन यहाँ से यहाँ तक के जाने वाली है करके?
ये नहीं है, ऐसे ही पता कर लेते, पूछ लेते किसी से कि ये ट्रेन कहाँ तक जा रही है, कहाँ तक हमको जाना है। हाँ। पता कर लिया कोई मुसाफिर चल रहा है जैसे, हाँ। तो उससे मालूम हो गया नहीं, हाँ। ये ट्रेन यहाँ तक
तो भी तो कभी किसी ने गलत बता दिया, गलती हो गई उससे बताने में और फिर आपको दिक्कत हुई, ऐसा कभी हुआ है?
नहीं, ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ।
मतलब ऐसा कभी भी नहीं?
हम लंबी सफ़र कहीं चले नहीं, मजदूर आदमी, बच्चे जिला में कि उसका क्या नाम, हमको वहाँ सफ़र करें।
हाँ, तो जब आप पूछते हो तो वो जानकारी देती रहती है ना, मतलब रेल में जानकारी देती रहती है, आवाज़ आता रहता है।
हाँ, वो आवाज़
तो उससे समझ में आता है।
हाँ, उससे समझ में आ जाता है।
हाँ,
ये फला स्टेशन पे जा रही है, लाइन पे जा रही है, हाँ। 1 नंबर पे जा रही है, 2 नंबर पे जा रही है, हाँ। 3 नंबर की, 6 नंबर की, 9 नंबर पे जा रही है, इससे ही पता हो जाता है।
हाँ। बाकी दूसरी कुछ ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती आपको। और आपका स्टेशन आने वाला है, आपको कैसे पता चलता है कि ये स्टेशन आने वाला है करके, जब रेल में चढ़ जाते हो तो उसके बाद?
तो ये जैसे कानपुर आना है, बाहर गए कहीं, जैसे दिल्ली गए हम,
हाँ
और हमको कानपुर आना है,
हाँ
तो कानपुर पता चल जाता है, साथी लोग और उतरते हैं ना, उनके ही द्वारा मालूम हो जाता है।
हाँ। टिकट पे ऐसा कुछ नहीं लिखा, टिकट पढ़ते नहीं आती आपको?
हमको पढ़ना नहीं आता तो हम क्या जाने।
हाँ ठीक है, अगर किसी ने गलत कभी बता दिया तो दिक्कत हो सकती है।
हाँ, दिक्कत तब तो बिल्कुल हो सकती है।
हाँ।
Here you come across a man who has minimal education, and irrespective of the fact that we have IVRS system at place, irrespective of the fact that we have the digital display at position, irrespective of the fact that you can get information about your train online through SMS. We have touch screen systems on many stations in India now. Here you find that this man relies simply on the information that he seeks from other. So, when you think in terms of application of technology and usage of the information that has to do with human memory system, basically what you have to also look at is the fact that you are catering to a heterogeneous group of individuals. Okay. What you have designed makes no sense to somebody whom we have right now seen on the screen, where he says that I rely most on the co-passengers. Okay. And this is how I perform my journey, I complete my journey. Now, listen to this audio track. This is an IVRS system designed for the Indian Railways. Okay. This mode of transportation is very common in India, and large number of passengers commute every day using the Indian Railways. Now, listen to this IVRS system designed for the Indian Railways.
नमस्कार, भारतीय रेल की पूछताछ सेवा में आपका स्वागत है। वेलकम टू इंडियन रेलवेज इंक्वायरी सिस्टम। हिंदी में जानकारी के लिए 1 दबाएं। For English, press 2. Press 1 to know about PNR status. Press 2 for arrival departure. Press 3 for accommodation availability. Press 4 to know about fare inquiry. To book your ticket through cash card and getting it delivered through courier or email, press 5. Please enter the train number. Please enter the date in DD, MM, YY, YY format. For example, enter 1st of February 2010 as 01022010. You have entered an invalid input. Please try again. Please enter the date in DD, MM, YY, YY format. For example, enter 1st of February 2010 as 01022010. Press 1 for executive class, 2 for AC chair car. New Delhi, Lucknow, Swarna Shatabdi Express. From Lucknow to New Delhi. The status for date December 1st is available 36. Press 5 for next date status. Press 6 for advanced search options.
Here you have multiple options. You have the option for language first, English or Hindi. Okay. Now, you had 5 options, one for PNR, arrival departure and so forth, and then you had to press certain buttons whereby you were supposed to give the train number, the date, month, year. Okay. There was a specific system of doing so, and then the option of selecting the class in which you will travel. Now, imagine a situation while I was recording this for you, I had committed an error. Okay. Now, imagine older individual, okay, who would we have to basically retain all this information. No? So, what we have been talking till now, okay, that the more and more older you become and there is more and more of cognitive aging in an individual, okay, one faces extreme difficulty in terms of maintaining the information mentally in the working memory. And if you have difficulty retaining information in your working memory, okay, something which is basically supposed to help you like the IVRS system that you heard right now, okay, you have difficulty because simply you cannot retain these many information. No? You will listen to it first. No? So, say when it gives you 5 options, okay, you have to memorize all those 5 items and at the end of the 5th option, okay, you will press the button. Okay. So, that is the difficulty. We also have the voice telephone system nowadays coming into being for multiple usage. I am aware of project right now, it is right now in the in making, where the patients of one of the deadly diseases in the world, okay, those who also suffer certain degree of social stigma, they do not go or they are hesitant to go to the medicine shop for it. Okay, they will have a possibility of using the voice telephone system, the IVRS, to just confirm when to take the next dose, where to get it and so forth. No? Now, IVRS requires retention of relevant information in the working memory, okay, and this demands high memory load it puts on the individual. The demand is that you have to retain certain information for a little longer period of time. Now, IT equipments, they demand a sequence of set of basic actions, okay, if you have to achieve a particular goal, okay, and accuracy of the action is extremely important, okay, if you have to achieve the goal. Right now, you saw for the IVRS system for the Indian Railways, okay, when I was I pressed something by mistake, okay, the year was not entered in the proper format, okay, it was turned down. No? I did not get the desired information, I was told to redo it simply because the sequence of my action was not accurate. Therefore, the planning function becomes significant for constructing and maintaining behavior sequences, okay, corresponding to different action goals. And by and large, the type of technological interventions that we found, which are basically supposed to facilitate our functions, which are supposed to help us like anything in our day to day life, they are basically designed for a set of people who are between certain age. Okay. So, those who are below that age and those who are above that age group, they will find it extremely difficult. Remember, I am deviating right now a bit, but please allow me to do that. If you look at the census data of India, you realize a steep increase or you may call it a gradual increase if you wish, in the number of older population in India. Now, if you have a rise in the number of older population, okay, though that population which can afford certain technology, okay, that population to which you are supposed to cater, okay, then the whole idea flops, because the entire technological interventions that has been designed, okay, they are not taking care of those increasing population now. And if you have to redesign system or modify the system based on the requirement of these people, then one of the important things that you will have to look at is what we are discussing right now, memory processes. Now, advanced industrial science and technologies cognitive aging test, we have seen it has recently come forward, okay, and Kumada and his colleagues, they have come forward with it. And this test battery, it measures mild age related decline in 3 cognitive functions: visual attention, working memory and planning. And right now, we were referring to this. So, basically what they say is that once you measure the cognitive aging of the individual, of the population for which you are designing something, okay, or if you are designing something for a broader section of people, which will be more and more heterogeneous in terms of their mental capabilities, then of course, cognitive aging is something extremely important that has to be taken into account, if you want that all groups across the board should perform equally well. I'll like to share a very interesting study with you. No, this was a study of the TVM, okay, the ticket vending machine, okay, and of course, this is a scenario based study, I must say. Now, elderly participants were asked to buy the ticket, and it was the Shinkansen ticket. Shinkansen is the Japanese bullet train. Okay. They were supposed to reserve a seat, in the Shinkansen that was available in the next train from Tokyo to Fukushima. Okay. And Tokyo, of course, you remember because it is the capital of Japan, and Fukushima you of course remember because there was a very recent tragedy there in Fukushima. This very study, I am sure you will be very easily remembering it because it has Fukushima attached to it. Now, the elderly participants had to do this task in this scenario based study, and 5 different types of screens were given to them. This is screen 1, okay, where it says that fine, please select ticket type, and you have all the options here. This was screen 2, okay, when you realize that the total count of information has decreased now. Here you had 8 sets of information, okay, and then you also had monochrome, English, and on the top it was written, okay, please select a ticket type, okay, and the time was displayed at the right bottom, and then the thank you that was appearing on the left bottom end. Okay. Here it was minimized, it was brought down to 5. So, from 8 the information reduces to 5, and it was further reduced in the other displays. Altogether, I am showing you just 2 different types of screens here. 5 different types of screens were designed there. And what was observed was that the less number of information you put on the screen means the less loaded the screen is, okay, speeder and accurate is the booking process. Okay. So, the moment you keep more and more information, okay, you have the cluttering there, and elderly people will find it difficult because their processing time will increase, their planning time will increase, okay, and their working memory you are taxing it because you are overloading it with information. And similarly, if you look at the instructional technology, the electronic courseware, the web based teaching, in fact, this entire course that you are looking at, okay, also is video recorded, and you have the video format of the course, you have the web format of the course. Okay. But what has been interestingly realized is that we typically forget the course material at a very exponential rate. Now, how do we design instructions? Okay. How do we ensure that what should be the duration of the instruction, how much loaded it should be with the information, okay, and how the hierarchy should be formed, okay, when one is going for a base teaching material, okay, what to appear where, okay, and likewise. Now, laboratory style memory tests to much more realistic learning circumstances involving complex information and long term retention interval. Okay. And this has been realized that instruction technology research has something more to derive from the inputs from psychology, especially memory research, okay. And then one should go for a more realistic learning circumstances rather than something which is more laboratory dependent, which is more studio dependent. Okay. And interestingly enough, I would like to share one special product, what is called as memory mirror. Okay. And this is a technology prototype of a product designed to help remember whether an activity has been carried out or one has not yet done so. Now, look at this video.
आज की ताज़ा खबर क्या है?
आज तो पढ़ाई नहीं, मेरी आँख 2 दिन से इतनी गड़बड़ हो रही है
ना, आईज में
तुम लोग का फेस जो है वो इतना हेजी दिख रहा है,
धुंधला दिख रहा है
बहुत ज़्यादा।
अरे बाप रे, भी तो ये बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम हुई, तो आप इसीलिए कुछ दवाई वगैरह ले रहे हैं?
सब ले बराबर डाल रही हूँ दवा सब कर।
हाँ, दवा वगैरह टाइम पे याद रहता है, बराबर टाइम पे वो टाइम पे दवा डालनी है,
बिल्कुल।
तो टाइम टेबल बना के रखते हो?
नहीं, मेमोरी वगैरह ऐसी नहीं।
कैल्शियम तो अच्छी है।
सुबह
अच्छा
हैं, फिर गोली, अब फिर उसके बाद मैं शाम को 7 बजे ये लेती हूँ, ये हिलर,
अच्छा,
ये वाला, और फिर उसके बाद जब खाना खा के आती हूँ तो फिर ये गोली लेती हूँ 9 साढ़े 9 तक। फिर रात को ये 9:30 10 बजे की ये लेती हूँ फिर दोबारा ये कैप्सूल। बस ये दवा है मेरी।
आप कुछ हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम है जैसे कुछ इसके लिए? कुछ नहीं है आपको? ये तो बहुत ही अच्छी बात है। तो फिर दवाई वगैरह भी आप कुछ लेते नहीं होंगे? कुछ दवाई वगैरह भी नहीं लेते होंगे?
एक दवाई लेते हुए।
What you find here is that there are individuals who have difficulty redesigning their lifestyle simply because they have to take medicines. They have grown up, they are very old now. There are certain diseases that they have acquired for which regular medication is needed. Therefore, what we did was once we studied a group of individuals of variable age group, but of course, they were 60 plus, and that is basically the post retirement phase for the Indian population, a majority of them. And then depending on what time the most of the drugs are supposed to be taken, we looked at the prescription format, once a day, twice a day, thrice a day, 4 times a day, okay, and the dose, and then we designed what is what we are referring here as memory mirrors. So, the way things are you do things in your life, day to day life, okay, if we provide you with a very cheap product which will help you synchronize the usage of the drug, the intake of the drug, the requirement of the drug, okay, based on your lifestyle. Look at these videos. So, what you find here is that you have shown your tendency that fine this is the time when I watch movies, this is the time when I see news, this is the time when I take my breakfast, this is my bedtime, okay. And then you have a box that has been created where matching with the activity of the day, the drugs has been put, okay. And now when you ask these people that fine, can you simply look at the product and say what it reminds you of, look at what the participant had to say.
ये चिन्ह किस किस के लिए हैं?
ये तो ओम दिख रहा है ना, तो पूजा करने के बाद,
सुबह पूजा के बाद।
ये देखा टीवी दिख रहा है, थोड़ा हिल गया इसका टीवी। टीवी दिख रहा है ना, तो ये नहीं हिल गया टीवी। ये टीवी देखने के बाद या टीवी देखते समय या बात है ना।
हाँ, टीवी देखते समय, ये दोपहर में थोड़ा रेस्ट करते समय, ये रेस्ट शाम के समय है, ये चाय वाय जब पीते हैं। नहीं, हाँ,
खाना खाने के बाद ही।
हाँ, खाना खाने के बाद,
क्योंकि बेड आ गया ना फिर इसका।
अच्छा,
है ना, बेड आ गया ना,
रात को बेड आ गया।
हाँ, फिर अब
इवनिंग में मतलब जो है खाना खाने के बाद का है, खाने के बाद, और रात को सोने के टाइम का है।
हाँ,
ये मतलब जो है मॉर्निंग में सुबह ब्रेकफास्ट, सुबह का ब्रेकफास्ट, फिर दोपहर का मतलब टीवी देखने,
फिर ये दोपहर का रेस्ट, ये फिर शाम की चाय नाश्ता।
And this is what is called as memory mirrors. Remember that we had discussed it when we were talking about the prospective memory also, that older people usually show difficulty recollecting things, and this is one of the severe problems. And you saw how little bit of information from psychology, little bit of technology, little bit of design, you can just form an amalgamation of these set of information, and you can come forward with beautiful products, okay, which would cater to the human beings. They will optimize their utility, they will not miss medicines, they will improve usage of the IVRS system, online system, okay, and life for everybody becomes much more pleasing, much more smoother. So, this is all that we had to talk about with respect to memory processes. Now, this is time for us to recapitulate whatever we have discussed with respect to human memory processes.